So tonight we start the meditation practice, and before we begin meditation, I'd like to explain you about what is meditation. Perhaps many of you have done meditation before. Meditation is actually the most important practice in Buddhist teaching. It's basically learning about the mind. Meditation is all about what is the nature of our mind, how the mind functions, and how to work with the mind when different emotions, thoughts arises, how to deal with that. After all, everything is mind in life. All our experience, whether it's good, whether it's bad, high, low, happiness, pain, confusion, everything stems from the mind. There is no experience which is not related with the mind. If you feel warmth, there is the one who experiences the mind. Yes, our physical body is there to feel the heat. Physical body is there to feel the cold. But one who experiences that cold is the mind, the feeling. The one who experiences the warmth is the mind. So everything boils down to the mind. Consciousness. There are many different words. Mind, consciousness. Basically, I think those are the two main vocabularies we use. Mind and consciousness. Awareness. Chaotic situation, confused situation, and due to that, a lot of suffering is also coming from the mind. Happiness, joy, love, kindness, compassion also is a display of mind. It's like a big display. Mental display, awareness. Now when we look deeper, we all want to be happy, simply. There's no more than that. It's a very simple thing in life. We just want to be happy, which means freedom. Happy means it has to lead with liberation. Liberation from thoughts, liberation from emotion, liberation from confusion, liberation from our neurotic, self-centered mind. It's basically up to that. But why that is not happening? What we want is a happiness, self-liberation, in fact, we can say. Very highly realized meditators, their minds are self-liberated. Moment thoughts arises, thoughts do not trap you, but rather thoughts become like complementary instead of thoughts become a burden. That's the benefit as you keep doing meditation. Gradually you can be friends with yourself. Right now we have quite a strange relationship with ourselves. There's a hate and a love relationship with your projections, mental projections. Sometimes your thoughts seems to be favorable, working according to things going smoothly, and many times thoughts turning against you. And then, since everything is shaped, whatever we do in life, study, work, ideas. First, there's a thought, and then the thought is implemented, and then begin to manifest. So, if the foundation of the thought is coming from confusion, then it's like a dominoes effect. Everything goes wrong. So now how do we understand, how do we discover a sanity in our mind, a basic sanity, instead of conflicting and confusion arising? Everything coming to adding more salt to the injury, for example. If we have a cut, then if you put a salt, it's more painful. That's what seems to be happening in life. So many times, whatever you think, instead of opening the door of liberation, but it's become more compartmentalized. All thoughts are put in different compartments. And we collect. It's like there's a word in America, what do you call, some people collect so many things in their house you cannot move around. Yes, it becomes like that. Life seems to be happening like that. Living in a room full of so many things and no air to breathe. The whole life becomes claustrophobic. So that needs some cleansing. You need to, like sometimes we would ask friends to come and help clean our house, clean our room, and then there is space and clean, and then you can breathe well. Likewise, our mind, we are carrying a burden day and night. During the daytime, it's called gross mental habit. During the nighttime, it's called subtle habit. What you do in the daytime, you dream that in nighttime. The subtle habit you take along with you. And many times, those subtles are not particularly a basic sanity, but a lot of insanity, such as ego, aggression, self-centeredness, judgment, people you hate, or you have anger, you have problem. The moment you see them in your dreams, you begin to attack. And again, keep feeding that habit. So never there is peace. Very little peace we experience in life. Always conflict, confusion, trap, and hopelessness. The only thing we do, we pray. But that's very limitation. We don't know how we can liberate this thought, how we can liberate this emotion, and how to bring the emotion to a compassionate or skillful functioning. That happens very limited. Most of our projection falls into the trap of some kind of ego's game, an ego's trip. And obviously there is, since ego, to begin with, is a false experience. So therefore, ego always has a sense of fear, the sense of survival in our mind. That's the ego's biggest weapon, the fear. If the ego cannot produce fear, the ego wouldn't last long, because ego fall apart. For ego to maintain its presence, its identity, it needs the fear. And when you really look, where is ego and how is ego, you can't really find. It's just like a fantasy, some kind of imagination. But it seems like it has its own life, like your dream. When you go to sleep, you have many dreams. You did so many things. When you wake up, none of those things happened. And you say, oh, that was just a dream. I had a bad nightmare. But in actuality, this lifetime It's the same thing. It's same mind. One is gross, one is subtle. When you go to sleep, it's subtle phenomena. During the daytime, it's gross phenomena. So actually, there is no difference. It's the same mind. It's your own mind saying, oh, the night dream was not real, daytime was real. It's your mind. There was no other than that. One is gross projection of habits you collect, projects, and one subtle, when you go to sleep, it projects. And when there's projections of dreams happen in your dream, you don't think that that's unreal. You have 100% hopes and fears in your dream like during the daytime. Very real. You never think dream was just a dream. You fought, you make love, you kick, you did everything in your dream, just like you do during the daytime. No difference. So it seems we are really trapped there. And then ego is the one which keeps coming back. If there is a confusion and ignorance, that is the ego. That sense of fear, sense of survival. If ego really exists, it's got a valid reason, then you should feel very comfortable. There should be no fear and there should be no sense of survival. The very notion that it brings that fear, it cannot stand itself. It doesn't have a solid ground. Therefore, it emits this misconstrued intelligence. Ego is intelligence, mental intelligence, a confused intelligence that always like, you got to find your place. And the moment there is ego, there is aggression. You can't live ego without aggression. It's not possible. And when the aggression can be in many ways, whether our car door doesn't properly close a few times, you would slam the door. Or your faucet doesn't work well, you would bang it. So many different ways how it manifests. So ego is constantly the main trap, the main reason that every thought, whether it's aggression, jealousy, all have to do with that identity, how it plays and how it's able to trap you. You see, it's nothing to do, there's ego. Ego is not some kind of devil or something external. If it's something external, we can shut it out. Close the door. Or like 1 hour a day, you can build a vault in your home and get inside and lock the vault, and you can feel peace. You can't, because wherever you go, you carry that with you. Why? It comes with all emotions, a sense of survival. And the moment that sense of survival gets stronger and stronger, you get weaker and weaker and vulnerable to all thoughts, emotion, projections, life situation. Everything becomes like hassle and burden. So we need to let that go. And of course, it takes time. It's not something you can do just by 1 day, 2 days. You need to constantly keep that awareness, understand more deeper what's ego, study, reflect, and then sit. That's what meditation is. People who've done a great, like as continue over the time meditation. If you, like tonight we're going to do meditation. Then from tomorrow you start meditation in your home. Get up early in the morning and then do like 15 minutes a day. Then gradually you can do like number of periods, like 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, 10 minutes while you're having tea, 10 minutes in the evening before you go to sleep. You will see a notice. You will notice after a month, your mind is a little bit more relaxed. This world around is same. Cars are going on the highway, restaurants are running, your neighborhood didn't change, But you change now. That pressure and tension and intolerance before makes you crazy, suddenly now it's going down because your mind is more open now. There's more sanity, finally. There's more compassion, there's more creativity, there's more intelligence, there's more sense of humor. Before, everything is deadly. Your spiritual practice is deadly, your life is deadly, your relationship is deadly. Everything seems so hard and harsh. It's not, that's really not how it is in reality. World is much more, there's more, if we can realize the nature of our mind, there's goodness in us, not badness, there's goodness in us. And we can discover that, we can bring it out. We just have to realize, discover what's in us. And the way to do that is meditation practice. It's very effective. Now, when you do meditation, one thing is the postures of meditation, how you sit. It is important to sit in a straight when you do meditation. Body should be straight and relax. Not uptight, or any force shouldn't be there. Body should be totally relaxed, but straight. So usually meditation cushion is called zafutan. The back should be slightly up so your body gets straight. If you do a meditation on a sofa set, you will fall asleep because the whole posture, structure of this sofa set is so soft. And lying like this, pretty soon you will be snoring. Your mind is out. You have no idea what you're doing. So you can't fall asleep during meditation. So you have to be straight, like this. The chin not looking up, not looking down. Just gazing gently. Your eyes not closed. Eyes open, but slightly looking down, like on the tip of your nose, and not looking, no penetration, just gazing in like 2-3 meters. And then just drop it, relax. And then the body also, this is the meditation posture, either like this or like this. And then, so eyes gazing in front. So there's a saying, your body is on the zafu and your mind is in your body. You need to remember that. Body on the zafu, mind in the body, and mind there, here and now. Your mind is not distracted here and there. Of course, thoughts will arise. You cannot stop thinking. You may have, what I'm going to eat tonight, what am I going to do tomorrow? Those thoughts will arise. But when those thoughts arise, usually we allow the thought, then we just run after the thought. But now in meditation, you need to have a discipline. You need to bring back the mind. Moment the thought arises, you should say, oh, this is a thought. And the moment you recognize the thought, it cannot distract you. It will come back to itself. So that is very important. It's called mindfulness. Without mindfulness, then you can be sitting here, but your mind is lost all over. There will be no meditation. There will be no focus. The mind has to concentrate. The mind has to be present here and now, right here. You don't have to bring any particular thoughts. You don't have to bring any religious thought. You don't have to bring any this thought or that. Whatever thought you have here and now, That's it. You're working with the working, maybe English word, working situation is whatever you have here and now. That's it. You don't have to think Buddha, you don't have to think Jesus, you don't have to think devil, you don't have to think cars, you don't have to think what you're going to do. Whatever comes at that moment in your mind, that's what you're working with in meditation. So, of course, you will have many thoughts arise when you sit. But normally we would run and we would entertain those thoughts. And the moment you see the face of your loved ones, there'll be, desires, attachment. The moment you see someone you don't like, there will be anger. So constantly, again, the ego comes, and then all kinds of karma and situation we create, which brings a lot of conflict and pain and suffering. There's no release, there's no liberation. So now in meditation, simply, regardless of whatever thoughts, you're not looking for thoughts either. Neither you're trying to suppress them. It's more, you see the thoughts. There are many levels of meditation. But at the beginning, I would suggest that moment you see the thoughts, recognize the thoughts. The thought which has been stealing like a thief, before it's been like a thief stealing, and we get lost. Now finally you take charge with your mindfulness. One is mindfulness of body, how to sit properly. Secondly, mindfulness of the mind. When thought arises, don't run after thought, recognize the thought, and then that's it. The moment you recognize the thought, if there's aggression, it will lose power. It's like so tight one will finally begin to relax. Then you don't have to make anything special. If you try to make special, that is again ego strip. Oh, now it's wonderful. This must be really, I must be high spiritual. That is again your ego talking then. You don't have to make anything. If it's a wonderful thought, you allow that. You recognize, don't go after that. If it's a bad thought, you recognize that thought, don't feed that. Just let it be. It's like a cloud in the sky. Clouds come in the sky and dissolve into the sky. That's how. It's like an ocean. Waves come from the ocean and waves go back into the ocean. When you sit, thoughts can come and thoughts will liberate by themselves. So that in order to do that, you need to get discipline and focus, first of all. And when you try to do that, sometimes for beginners, seems more thoughts are coming. You begin to wonder, since I did meditation, I have more thoughts than before. How come? Before I have a less of a thought, and now there's more thoughts. It's not that suddenly you have more thoughts or you got extra mind or 2, 3 minds. It is the subconscious gossip before, which is basic neurosis. Subconscious gossip is neurosis. It's not compassion. It's not wisdom. It's neurosis. Subconscious gossip constantly chattering inside with the subtle ego. You see, ego suddenly didn't build up to a gross level. Ego has to build from an ignorant level to a very subtle level and gradually building up like everything else. It makes 100 cents for $1. Without one, there cannot be 100. In order to be 100, there has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 80, 90, and finally there is 100. So it took a while to build that 100. Same thing with how there's some subtle ignorance, and then from the subtle ignorance of basic not knowing, it built up, and then it formed the gross habit. So usually all those thoughts chattering like a radio waves, And of course, why we don't experience even for a moment of peace. Did you really ever experience, if you look, 5 minutes, I have a complete freedom? Very difficult, I think. Very difficult. If you have a total peace in your mind for 2 minutes, I would give you a big certificate with a signature. Difficult. Because it's chattering. Constant chattering in the mind. So now that subconscious gossip or subconscious thing is when you meditate, it's getting clear, it's coming out. So now you're able to see it like, but at the same time, like when you take a medicine, there's a side effect. The side effect, it seems bothering. How come suddenly I have more thoughts? It's not necessary everyone has the same kind of experience, but certain people have that kind of experience. From individual to individual, there's different kinds of experience. So when that happens, it is said that it's like a rushing spring. You see a river, small river comes from the mountain. When they come, they splash. And then the moment they enter the ocean, then it's calm. So same thing. When we sit, all those subconscious gossip, when you cleanse it out, kind of purification, when you bring it out, it's like you begin to experience sometimes, oh, this is coming out, that is coming out. But then, you don't have to be afraid for who you are. It's there already. It's nothing new. Now you're seeing it clearly. Before you're not seeing it. Now you're seeing it. So you see it. Then you keep doing the same method, is same continuation of meditation. Then finally, like as I said, the waves can be 50 meter or 80 meter or 100 meter coming out of the ocean, but it goes back. It has to go back to the ocean. That's where it came from, that's where it will dissolve. Same thing our mind, from the space of mind, thoughts arises and it will dissolve into back. So you have to be the awareness of your awareness or the awareness of your basic sanity, how to focus to that. And then it will, as it comes, it will dissolve back. And as you get stronger and stronger in your meditation practice, then day to day you will find the difference. The best time to do meditation is morning time. If you do morning time meditation, your mind would have effect the whole day. And what's the effect? Situation which you cannot handle before seems sharp and difficult. Same situation will be much easier. You're not bothered much because your mind is more open and free. It's a tremendous benefit. Today in science also, doctors have discovered those who do meditation, blood pressure level goes down, tension goes away, anxiety goes away. In fact, it is like incredible power you hold in your mind. How to purify, how to, feel clear, healthy, balance in your body, balance in your mind. You have it. You don't have to buy that. You just have to bring it out. And in order to bring it out, you need to sit every day in your home. I would suggest if you can do like first thing in the morning, it'll be very good. So continuation of meditation like that. So mindfulness of the body and mindfulness of mind. Mindfulness of mind, knowing when thought arises, not wandering after those thoughts, but rather getting back, recognizing the thought. Moment you recognize the thought, not entertaining the thought. You don't have to entertain. Either it's good thought or bad thought that you want to blow the whole world. You don't need to entertain. It's just like that. In the Zen meditation, they say, it's like the mother dog lying down and the little puppies climbing on you. All the little puppies, dogs have many puppies, 6, 7 puppies climb on you, but the dog doesn't care. She just sit like that. Whether they're playing or coming on your head or whatever they're doing. Likewise, if you can, whatever thoughts come, you don't, in fact, it is said, you don't judge the thought. Moment you try to judge, the ego takes place. This is while you're doing meditation. I'm not saying you should not judge when you're working. You see, don't misunderstand me. When you're doing meditation, you're learning to bring your awareness. And then that effect of that calmness will creative. Creativity of that openness is much more powerful with freedom. A creativity with freedom rather than creativity with ego. There's a huge difference. Most people didn't really taste what is to be creative without ego. Ego is simply a confused intelligence. But creativity is there in ego, creativity is there in compassion, creativity is there in wisdom. We can never shut our mind. Some people think, if without ego, how can I make a decision? That's a very confused question. In fact, you will be 1,000 times more powerful without that cage of ego. And that also comes through the meditation practice, how you step out of ego's world. Then truly at that time you become confident, trust in yourself. Positive qualities all begin to manifest when you discover that basic sanity in yourself. Until that, we rely very much on life situation is always, as I said earlier, your projection, you and your projection have a relationship, love and a hate relationship. Sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it. Confused projection to oneself, like a split personality, dualistic. So, now, mindfulness is the most important in meditation. Without mindfulness, you cannot do meditation. And there is no point of doing meditation without mindfulness. And the method of meditation I like to introduce today, though there is breathing meditation, there is focus on object meditation, there is objectless meditation, numerous methods of meditations there. I think breathing meditation is very good. And to some people, object meditation is good. Depends on one's, how one feels bringing that meditation. To do objectless meditation, you need to be advanced. Otherwise, it's difficult because there's nothing to hold on to. Since our mind is so used to identity all the time, so it needs, a reference point for the mind to hold something, focus on something. So sometimes when you do breathing meditation, some of them counting, they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then while you're counting that, your mind is so focused on counting, it stops other thoughts from interfering. But that's not something, you know, that's the only way. There are many other ways. Most of the time one does the breathing. So you're sitting here and you breathe out and you breathe in. Without breathing, you'll be dead, first of all. So you breathe in and you breathe out. And while you breathe in and breathe out, your awareness, your mind or consciousness, whatever, same thing actually. Mind is with the breath, focusing the awareness. When the breathing goes out, your mind is with the breath, focus on the breath. And when you breathe in, then the mind is focused with the breath going in. That's it. That's the method. So just simply being present here and now with the breath, going out, going in, going out, going in. Like that. Of course, now when you do that, it's not mean there will be no thoughts. Thoughts will arise. When the thoughts come, again go back to the focus of breathe again. So you keep training your mind in that way. That is meditation, how you begin, first of all. So the focus is the breath. Reference is the breath. With your consciousness on the breath. Normally our mind just think all kinds of things and goes all over. So here you just with the breath. And then don't be hard on yourself. Supposing you get distracted. And then this is so bad, now I got distracted. And then you beat yourself, feel guilty. That again itself is another form of neurosis. No need to have guilt. In this room there is no place for guilt. Focus. Be here and now. I'm joking. Maybe you should have guilt. There's no point. Guilt itself is a distraction because you entertain that guilt. Then it leads to more aggression, more frustration. It brings more negativity. But rather focus. Moment you see that you're distracted, that's all. Then it will come back. So focus to the breath. And then another thing, while meditation, if you fall asleep, that is a false of meditation. So when you fall sleeping, then you should kind of make your body, like this slightly, and then it will clear it, and you get focus again. And then if there can be excitement, sometimes so many thoughts will arise. Different people have different experience. And when the thoughts arise too much, look slightly downwards, your eyes. It will bring the thoughts down. Slightly downwards. And then again, gently release that. And then again, just focus. So that's the meditation. So let's begin the meditation, the breathing meditation. Okay? Yes.
Sometimes my mind seems to get very focused and I feel a lot of energy kind of rising up. And it's easy to get distracted by that energy. I'm not, like sometimes it seems like I can follow it deeper into meditation and sometimes it becomes a distraction. And I sometimes don't know quite what to do with that sense of energy that comes up.
You will get lots of different kinds of experience, you see. But the way to deal with all experience is to move forward. You have to use the experience to move forward, not to, again, make it a compartment. So whether it's energy of something you feel really great, clarity, joy, warmth, or something you feel like stuck, all of them, when you do meditation, it's like you should be like careless. You don't give anything special treatment. Because moment you give special treatment to mind, if you love your mind too much, get too much attached, then it will prison you. The way to treat is like you don't care. That's how you have to deal with the mind. The problem is we get so attached with, oh, this emotion, oh, I've got to take care of this. This is so special. This is too much special. That's what makes so much problem. No special. Something like that. You see, if you can see the whole world, no big deal. You know, suddenly your minds get so clear, your clairvoyance, you can read the minds of others, so your intuitions are so clear, but you don't give any credit. The moment you give credit, ego will come back. And then again you're put back into a compartment. So you want to have fresh, open. And that's where all your positive energy, basically, you know, creativity, wisdom, compassion, skillful mean, creativity can all arise when you're open, not when you're closed. Why we feel limitation with ego? Why we don't experience those? Because we close that. So you feel energy there, and then you feel it's like too much. You're giving attention to that. We give too much attention to a neurosis, therefore it is able to continue. So way to deal it like careless in meditation. And then you can move forward. In meditation. You know, when you keep thinking of a particular emotion and keep feeding that, then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So you're learning how to, you know, simplify that and be fresh. And then, you know, true creativity with the freedom will always arise in your mind. Yeah, that's suppressing thoughts. Suppressing never works. People came to this country where they were prosecuted. America is a country where people in Europe, mainly this, you know, when the earliest settlers came, they all came with either religious persecution or some political persecution, suppression. So now descendant of the earlier pilgrims should honor their uh, which is not to be suppressed. So what I mean to say is, when you deal with the mind, if you suppress the mind, temporarily it will work. But then the subconscious gossip level deep inside, it is still there. And now that is not to say, like earlier I said, when you do meditation, you don't have to look for a thought. Neither you have to get distracted with the thought. You have to be present here and now. That is a really important point. Disciplining the mind, recognizing the mind, recognizing thoughts is not suppressing. Just trying to shut the mind off, like some people try to do by closing their eyes. And so they try not to get exposed to the sensorial phenomena. In the eyes is the sight, in the ears the sound, in the nose the smell, in the mouth is the taste, in the body is the sensation, in the mind all kinds of thoughts, emotions. So if you try to shut it out, then the mind will become like numb. It doesn't bring creativity in mind. It doesn't bring compassion. It doesn't bring gentleness. Rather, minds become more like tranquilized. So it's never good to shut the mind and suppress the mind. No, the mind with the bad habit or old habit should be allowed to do its way. So you simply recognize that's it. Then it will clear by itself, like the clouds come from the sky and it clears. So that is important.
You have to be patient enough to let the thought actually come and then let it self-liberate.
Yes, yes. And the way you're learning is first through the breathing meditation. And then once you have established stability in that particular meditation, then later, as I said, self-liberation. At times come where the thoughts arises, but the thoughts at the same time unwind itself. Like a snake. It can twist its body, but untwist at the same time. How the snake twists its body. Like thoughts can come and thoughts can unwind itself. Right now, we need to make so much effort. If a thoughts come really bothers us, either we shut it off or we try to, people go to the extreme actions such as taking drugs so that one can forget, or drink, intoxication. All those are trying to escape from thoughts, basically. Escape from pain. It's nothing more than that. So that one can intoxicate, just forget about all the bad experience or pain in life. But we don't really have to be that way. We have inner natural qualities, a basic sanity, how we can just, be natural without being neurotic or without being confused. So in meditation, that's what you're learning. You need to do it every day in order to gain experience. It won't happen if you do for one day and then don't do for like 3 days and then suddenly do it. It's like a food. You need to eat 2 or 3 times a day, every day, and then it maintains the health balance. Same thing in mind. You need to keep the awareness through practice of meditation. And then during the daytime also, when you're working, watching the mind and how it's working, and then bring some meditation into action in working situation also. Then you begin to gain experience. Then you get control of your life in your hand. So suppressing, no. And distracting, also no. In between. And you will discover that in between. It may take a little time, but you will discover that in between. Because you have to discover it's your nature. You can escape from that if you look into it.
Sometimes when I'm meditating in the machine, a lot of strong emotions will come up. Tears will arise. And I feel like I don't want to just suppress the tears. I can't control it. They'll just flow. Is that, do you recommend just, I don't want to entertain the thoughts that led to the tears, but sometimes it's just, and I can't find a thought that's associated with it. Is it okay just to release it?
As I said, you're not anticipating, it's not, okay, now I'm going to sit and maybe it's time to cry. You don't want to do that. Then you're looking for stirring up a particular emotion so how you can cry. Whatever, when you sit, neither you anticipate of the future, nor you go back to the past. Just allow it, whatever thoughts is coming at that moment. And if you feel, suddenly uncontrolled tears coming out, okay. But then don't make an issue out of that. You see, we make issues of everything. That has been the problem. So therefore, allow it. And if it's something uncontrolled, allow it. And then, you just be there. Because all the thoughts are mental construct, actually. It's mental construct. If you look at the mind nature itself, it's emptiness. Thoughts are empty. Show me your mind. Is your mind an object? Did you ever saw your mind as an object? You need to look into it. Where is the mind? How is the mind? Is the mind an object? If it's an object, what kind of shape? It's got to have a shape if there's an object. Either it has to have a shape or it has to have a color. You can't go beyond that. So, and if there is such a mind, where is it? Is it in your brain, in your heart, in your lung? Where? Sometimes it's good to do investigative meditation. That's called investigative meditation, looking mind. So gradually over the time I will explain those, but then again it leads to another level. So right now I don't want to go through that, but generally just be present with the breath. And if you feel sometimes you will have emotion because you're used to your emotion from so long time. So when they arise, allow that, but don't go after that. Don't get distracted. Mindfulness of mind and mindfulness of body. These two mindfulness are very important. And then the third is to look at the nature of the mind. It's called mindfulness of phenomena. Because all thoughts and emotions are not independent. It seems like independent. It seems like they can come by itself. But you cannot have a thought without subject and object. In order to have a thought or emotion, you need an object. And you need a subject. It cannot come by itself without subject and object. You see? And in order to have an object and a subject, it is interdependent with millions of factors. So many factors. Let's not go say millions. Just say so many factors. First of all, that object as a person has to be born. You got to count that. Their parents have to meet. Then they are born. Then they are grown. You are also grown, And then many events. Finally, you have some kind of either, some kind of good relationship or some kind of bad relationship, which is many factors. And then something click at some point, it didn't work. And then you get offended. So now there's emotion or pain. But there was no just pain by itself with an independent pain. Pain is a structure of many facets, many interdependent factors. So when you say interdependent, it is devoid of independent. There's no eternal pain. There is no pain by itself. Pain is a construct of many things, and you experience at some point a subject and object. So, but there is no reality. If you look in meditation, you'll be able to look through that and cut that. When you see there is no inherent existence in that pain, it will fall down instantly. Therefore, ignorance are not valid. Passions and neurosis do not have valid ground, because the moment you see that, it will fall apart. What is valid ground is basic sanity. That's how you discover basic sanity, which is called Buddha nature, awakened mind in Buddhist teaching. Basic sanity, basic goodness. Because all neuroses, aggressions, emotions of all types are interdependent. Interdependent means they don't have an independent state. They cannot stand by itself. Therefore, there is basic goodness in every being. Well, then, wonderful. Thank you. So, continue meditation. I hope you will, go back today, tonight, and then from tomorrow at your home, find a time and then start meditation. You will feel fresh. And then, day by day, we have to transcend from ego. And nobody can do that for you except yourself. No one can do that. Like we have to eat food in order to get food. Phil, somebody else eating doesn't do the work. Same thing, your happiness in your mind, you have to discover. No one can do that for you. I can teach you, lead you, but if you don't do it, there's nothing I can do. So, one has to be compassionate to oneself, that we cannot allow this negative habit, egos and neurosis to control our life. Rather, we need to go beyond that. And you can do that because you have basic sanity. Basic goodness is your nature. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Let's do a world peace prayer. There is a world peace prayer. What page number is that?
They're not numbered, it's at the third in the middle. It's on the page that says dedication prayers.
Is there a page number?
There's no page numbers.
So it's called In the World in General. That's where it starts, In the World in.
Page that says dedication prayers.
Okay.
It's the first one.
In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. 3 times. In the world in general, and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. In the world and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtues, qualities, and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. Sunam, which was the English one? The last, Peter, please read that.
By this
Yeah.
The last one on this.
Yeah, the last one. By this merit, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.